Hello, I'm Rick Stivers, and I'd like to welcome you to Young Martin's Reels. And today I'm going to start on a project of two different Shakespeare reels. And I wanted to introduce you to both of them at the same time so that I can identify the differences in them. And on the first one, you're going to notice this is one that I got from my dad, and it was missing the cover, the front cover off of it. And in my head, this is what it looked like. And I've been searching for a cover for this for about 4 months now, and I haven't been able to. Well, I was at a yard sale this weekend, and I saw this guy laying. I didn't have this one laying around anywhere close to me, and I saw this one. I said, hey, wait a minute. That's a Shakespeare Wonder Cast. That's what I'm looking for. It was completely frozen. It wouldn't do anything. And I said, well, at least I can take the cover off of it and put it on the one that I have since it functions. Well, turns out they're not the same. This one is a Wonder Cast 1799, and this one over here is a Wonder Cast 1797. Not the same at all. So they appear at first glance to be very similar. This one with the cover, this one without the cover. But if you'll notice, this one's got the star washer drag over here. This one does not. This one, the drag is controlled by how tight you tighten the spinner head or the cover on it. And one of the things I've also found out about Shakespeare products is they have a date code or a make code, which is, if you look here, let's bring this one up where you can see it closer, and we'll focus in. All right, this one has a code of EH, and this one has a code of FB. Now, how do those calculate out? If you look at this chart, you take the letter from the chart, cross-reference up to the number, and that will give you the date of the first year of manufacture for these reels. Let's bring them back into focus down there. There we go. So today, this is the oldest one. This is a 1959 model, and we're going to start off with it. And we're going to come back on the second video and do this one, which is a 1963 model, or that was the first year they made those. How many years they did make them, I don't know. In both cases, the handles are corroded up and useless, so I'm going to replace those with hopefully ones that I find in my handle box. In addition to that, we also have a broken spring, or sorry, broken screw right here. It was right here, and I took the cover off of it yesterday and went in, and I did a little cleaning on this reel yesterday because it was completely frozen. It wouldn't move at all. And so what I did in order to free it up is I went into this hole right here and I shot it full of penetrant. And it doesn't really matter what penetrant you use as far as I'm concerned. Some people are very picky about that. Me, I'll use whatever's cheaper and doesn't stink. In that case, in this case yesterday, it was WD-40. That's what I used. And anyway, I sprayed this down and I left it soaked overnight, and I come back the next morning and I was able to start moving it. Now, did it move this well? No, it didn't. I had to take it apart and clean it out some. But I did find that this is once I found out that the cover would not swap over, I knew that I had to try to find something, try to get this reel up and running again. So this is the reel. This is the 1797. We're going to do it first. And in our next video, we're going to come back to the 1799. So let's get started with this. Okay, we're going to start off by trying to get this handle off. Now, that's something I haven't done before. I haven't taken this handle off. I did take the cover off, but I haven't taken just the handle off. So let's start off by taking that off. All right, so that come off nicely. Next, we're going to take out these two screws right here. There should be 3, and I will hopefully find a replacement screw down in my replacement screw box. before I take this cover off the rest of the way, I want to make sure, if I can, that I've activated the deactivated the anti-reverse. Okay, and it seems that I have. So let's go ahead and take the side cover off. There's your main gear, and your main gear is going to sit down inside here. Let's see. Yeah, I'm going to sit into this little spot right here. All right, and I did a little cleanup on this yesterday, but by no means did I completely clean it up. Just got it freed up. Cleaned out some of the old oil and grease, but it is not ready to go. Okay, set that over to the side, that into the parts bin. All right, now notice on this cover right here, it says micro drag, less this direction, more this direction. That's actually the drag for this reel. You tighten it and loosen it depending on how tight this cover is down. And what that rides on, if you look right here, see this edge right here? There is a rubber gasket right here, or could be leather for all that matter. But it sits on that shelf right there. All right, and as you tighten this cover down, it tightens how tightly that holds against this shoulder right here. And that is the drag for this reel. Okay, set it over to the side. See if we can get this cover to unscrew. We cannot, so we're gonna have to set this guy back in. Should have loosened this first. Hold the handle so I can turn this. There we go. Just enough to get that to break free and loosen up. And this button clicker doesn't want to hold when you hit it. And I think that we see the reason behind that right here. See all this old dried up grease? We're going to have to clean all that up out of there. With that done, now we can take this back off. Should have done that first. All right, now we can slide the spool off. And this center section now will slide out. All right, that brings us down to the button right here. The button is spring-loaded, and when I first took this apart, it took me a while to ever figure out how to put it back together, but I'm going to show you how we can do that easily. And we're taking the side cover off over here. All right, now when you take this cover off, what's going to happen is the spring is going to pop. So when you take it out, you're going to find this spring like that. And at first, you're going to look at that and go, oh, how in the world am I going to get that to go back in there properly? Well, I'm going to show you exactly how to do it, and it's very simple. We're not going to do it right now. We're going to come back after everything is clean. When we do the final assembly on this, I'll show you how to put that spring back in, and it's very simple. All right, that's got everything apart. We're going to scrub it up. Well, everything isn't apart. Let's say, for instance, you need to take this piece apart. All right. If the center of this is binding, which mine is not, because I cleaned it yesterday, you would push it down like this and it would stay. You let it go and it would just stay in there. It would not pop back. I fixed that yesterday, but I'm going to show you how to go about taking this apart. All right. First thing you do is push down on the whole assembly. Everything except for this little pin right here. Let's zoom in on this. All right, the little clip is kind of hard to see because it's dark. Okay, push down on the whole assembly. Slide this little clip off right there. And don't lose it because everything here is spring loaded at this point. You're holding a spring down with that clip off. And if you let it pop off, this little clip may go flying. Okay, so you've got this clip and this spring, and that's holding this shaft in. All right, yesterday this shaft was all corroded and grimy and wouldn't go back in. Now I do believe when you go to put this back in, what I found yesterday was there's only one right way for it to go in. It's 4 different ways that this will go in. And you have to rotate it and find the one direction, at least for this one, where it went in and moved smoothly. Okay? Every other direction binds. All right, what I found was there is only one right way for this to fit in here. And I don't know what it is. I don't know what is different. Everything looks the same if I look at it. But on this particular one, it goes in and out and moves smoothly on this particular position. If I rotate it 90 degrees, it binds. Rotate it again 90 degrees, it binds. So don't get it jammed in there. Rotate this way, 90, and it binds. Rotate it one more. And I got to get the right spot. There it goes. And it moves in and out easily. I don't know why. It looks like it's exactly the same no matter which direction, but only one way does it slide easily. All right, so we're going to go in and scrub up these parts, get them all clean, and we're going to come back to you in a few minutes. I am going to show you what I'm going to do to clean this. I'm going to spray it full of, not full, but spray some solvent in there, degreaser, let it sit in there. I'm going to do the same thing with this one. Spray this little button. It's got grime and sand all in it. Like I said, I cleaned it just a little bit yesterday, just enough to free it up so that it would move, but not enough to be ready to go and serviceable. And if you take a look at that line, that'll give you an idea of how bad things were in here. And one last piece to clean up. All right, I'm going to start cleaning all this up, and I'm going to, well, I will show you the beginning of this. I use a brush like this, and I'm just going to go in there and start working it around inside and start breaking all that loose. And we've already gone just in that little bit from a lever that didn't work to one that now functions. Now I'm going to go ahead and clean the rest of this up in here, but that wouldn't absolutely be necessary if all you wanted to do is just get it functional. All right, so that's going to be it. When I come back, everything's going to be clean, and we'll start putting it together. Okay, one thing I wanted to point out in this cleaning process, the grooves here for the drag clicker, my wire brush wasn't getting in there very well. So what I ended up doing was taking a safety pin and getting down in each of the grooves one at a time. So just wanted to show you that, and I will be back with you shortly and we'll start assembly. All right, as I've been cleaning this, I've found something else that probably needs to come apart. And for most people, hopefully you won't need to take this apart. But this one, as you rotate this part, you can feel right every now and then it catches on some grit. There's grit up inside here. And so what we're going to have to do, I'm going to try to anyway, is see if we can get, there's a little bitty snap ring inside here. And I've got to see if I can get that snap ring out without sending it flying. And I'm going to try to do it first off with a safety pin. Okay, looks like we're going to get it. I got to be careful. Oh, it popped back in. You got to be careful when you're dealing with something like this little teeny tiny snap ring that you don't. Can you see? Let's see if we can focus on just that. Okay, let's try this again. Let's rotate that around to there. What I'm going to do is put the gap over here. There's a shoulder here for the spinner head to drop down on. What I'm going to do is go to the shallow side of this, and hopefully in that position at the shallow side, I can get a better bite and get that lifted up out of there. Okay, I've managed to get this flipped under here. Okay, and I'm going to start working it around. There it comes. And be careful because it just tried to shoot out on me. All right, we got that off. I'm sorry I had to leave camera to get it to start, but I did. All right, and then we're going to slide this collar off. And it's binding. All right, there we go. Okay, so what we need to do, yeah, it's very gritty in there. And what we're going to do is we're going to take that grit, wipe it out. I'm going to bet that that has not been off since it was put on at manufacture. All right. You can see it's got a little bit of wear inside, but that's due to that grit. That grit had to come out or this was never going to flow smoothly. All right. Uh-oh. Where'd that go? All right. Now I just managed to pop a washer out. And that washer has a pretty good chance that it goes right here. Right there. Okay? If you do take this apart, don't lose that washer. It was up inside this piece here. And as soon as I went to start wiping it out inside, yeah, see how dirty this was inside? And it's not, leaving dirt inside a fishing reel, if you can help it, is not a good thing. All right. Now, if we put this inside here, now it spins freely. Okay, the hard part now, hopefully, is not going to be trying to put that back in. What we're going to do is we're going to put a little bit of grease on this. And normally, those of you who've been watching me know that I don't normally like to use grease on sliding parts and rotating parts. But in this case, I'm going to make an exception. And the reason being, you can see all that wear that's on that. So we're going to put grease on there. Now this has to go on like this. All right. The cam lobe up here on the top, make sure you've got that cleaned out good, because that's what's going to be driving the spinner head up and down, goes to the top. Slide this on. Oh, that feels so much nicer. All right. With that done, we slip that little shim washer back inside. And at this point, and you've got to keep a finger on top of this when you go to put this back in. But this snap ring has to go back down in there. And you're going to need to keep something pushing it down as you work it back into that groove. Otherwise, it's going to do everything in its power to go sailing. I'm going to use this ice pick and see if I can use that to hold it down. There we go. I want to be able to get to the end, slide it down, then you want to start working it around. And this is a very strong snap ring. There we go. Pull hard, make sure the snap ring stays on. All right, now we've taken that apart and gotten the grit out of there, and that really needed to happen. Okay, you've got this plastic collar on this end over here. That collar is 60 years old. I would suggest that you not try to take that off. If you try to pop that, I'm sure when it was brand new that plastic would pop right in and out. At 60 years old, I'm thinking it's not popping anywhere. If you flex it too much, it's going to break. And there are no replacements, so I would leave it alone. One last piece to take care of is your gear set. Now, I inspected the gear, and there is some sign of wear on these gears. But they're not mashed, they're not squished. There's just signs of wear. It shows that they've been used. All right. Now that we have that done, we're going to come back. Now, this doesn't have the wear that everything else had, so we're going to oil it. It's our axle shaft. And remember, there's only one correct way for this to go inside here, at least on this one there is. So you're going to have to keep working it until you find the right direction for it to go. That's not it. That's not it. That's not it. And it seems like it's always the last one. You'll start, some of them will feel like they're going in just fine, and then they don't. You just have to get it. I've cleaned it out real good inside. Originally, I thought it was doing that because of grit and grease in there, but that's not, doesn't seem to be the case. There it goes. There's the right one. See how easy that moves? And why it does that binding in any other position, I don't understand why, but it does. All right. If you can do this without taking all this apart, I recommend that you do. Okay, put your spring on. Then put this clip on. Now this clip is going to go with these little feet up, pointing up. The reason being is because once this clip is on, those little legs are going to come up and go around the clip to hold it in place, so the clip can't pop off. And we're going to set this back in place in the groove. There's a groove there. Do not let this pop off or it's going to go sailing. Okay. I'm going to do like I did yesterday. Grab a hold of it. Oh no. I did it. Fortunately, for this kind of thing, I had this magnet. It's a rare earth magnet, and I can run it over where I saw it hit the carpet, and it'll pick it up, most likely. As I said, it's a very handy tool to have around. All right, this time I've got it clipped on tighter instead of just picking it up, being lazy. All right, spring goes on, top clip goes on, slide it down. Have the clip ready in advance like I just did. It's so much better. Make sure that clip's all the way in. Rotate this until it fits like that. We're going to zoom in so you can see what the proper fit is. Okay. Goes in there just like that. Once you've got that in, go ahead and add some more oil. All right, we've got this part scrubbed clean. We're going to zoom back out. Here we go. Got this scrubbed clean. Next is going to go this guy in. We're going to grease it. Okay, now what happens is this oscillates inside here. And if you look right here, there's a place for that to fit into right there. Okay, so I can slide in and out. Okay, that's still, even though I cleaned it, it's still fitting a little rough inside. So I'm going to add a little grease inside there. Let's go back and put it in again. There we go. All right, now this groove right here, or opening in the plastic piece, I believe needs to be open right here. We're going to set this over to the side. We're going to reassemble our crank handle. Now, I've scrubbed all this clean. We're going to take and add some grease to your anti-reverse mechanism over here. Now, if for some reason this is super dirty up under here, you can take this screw out and disassemble just this cam. This piece here is riveted on. You can't take it off. So if you slide this around, you'll see in this position, you have no anti-reverse. Let's focus again. All right, in this position, you have no anti-reverse. In this position here, you have anti-reverse. So this piece fits in right up against here. We're going to put a dab of grease right there because that's going to ride against it. And then we're going to take our crankshaft and add some oil right here. Slide it inside. Now, when you flip this lever, you should have your anti-reverse, and you do. You'll only go one direction. Okay? Got that set. It is ready to go on. Okay, so bring this assembly back in. We're going to take this side gear, set it in place. Now, to put this in, you can't go straight down like this because this gear is going to hit this nod right here. You have to hook this in from behind, like that. To find out when you've got it in place, you're going to have to crank the handle. And so far, I still don't have the handle. I'll get back to that in a minute. If you've got it in the right place when you crank the handle, that's going to drop in. And so far, it hadn't dropped in. And what we're looking to happen is this cam has got to drop into here. But seeing as how we haven't even greased any of this yet, I think it's probably a good idea to go ahead and put our grease on there. We can leave the rest of it off because we can grease that from the other side. But this portion we cannot grease from the other side. Okay, we've got this all the way down as far as it goes. Bring it up just a little bit. Tell you what, let's bring it up to about there. Let's take our handle and crank it around to where the cam lobe is at about the middle and see if we can't match the two up. There. Okay, now notice as you turn the handle, you have to hold the plate down. Notice as you turn the handle, this is rotating, going up and down. That's what your spool is going to do. Actually, in this case, your rotor is going to, not your spool. All right, got that in place. We're going to go ahead and put our two screws in. All right, we come back to this side, and this is now where we're going to go ahead and lubricate these gears. I'm going to bring this up just a little bit. We do not want to just slather a bunch of grease inside there. You want to put the grease on the gear itself. Now, I could have done this while I had it out, but then I have to handle that gear with all that grease, and I just soon do it down inside the hole. Okay, rotate it around. Put yourself some more grease on the gear. All right, now normally this disassembly that we did on that center is not necessary, and for regular maintenance, none of that is necessary. All you really have to do is open this thing up, take this side cover off and clean it out. Pull that out and just kind of rinse it off, clean it off, and then just put some grease. You don't have to dismantle it completely like I did. All right. Now that's got that in. Now I told you that I was going to show you how to install this spring into this button and show you how to do it the easy way. It took me a little bit to figure it out yesterday, but I did it. All right. You take your button and you slip your button in like so. All right. If you look at your button or your spring, okay, it's got a big end and a small end. Okay. The big end has got this turnout that goes straight up like that. You're going to want to take that turnout and stick it into this hole right here in the button. Once you've done that, rotate the spring around a little bit and then take this end and slip it inside like that. Okay? You want it to stay inside. Once you've done that, then take your side case. Hold it. Make sure that spring doesn't pop out of that side. You want to take this post and you're going to slip it down in through the middle of the spring, and notice that the spring is not symmetrical over top of the hole. Well, that's what loads the spring, is the fact that it's not directly over the hole. So when you put this in, slide it through the spring and then slide it over until it drops into the hole for the button. Once you've got it there, if this is popped out, you can just take and maneuver it around so that it drops back into the hole. Get this dirt off of here. Come back over, move it, maneuver this around, get it to go back down in the hole. There you go. And everything fits right back in like that. All right. Button operates, does what it's supposed to do. Now you can put your side plate screws back in. I can honestly say that it took me longer to clean this reel than just about any reel I've ever cleaned before. This grease had turned into varnish, and even though a lot of it was soaked overnight, it still didn't want to come apart. All right, we've got it to that point. Now, let me point out a few things. This is our clicker right here. It's going to ride in this groove, and that's what gives you your drag click, which isn't much, but that's what it is. Tell you what, let's go ahead and add just a little bit of pressure to it. Okay. There. You still can't hear it. I think it's pretty much worn down. Even though I've cleaned it, I don't think it's going to make much noise. All right. That's what that's for. Now, also, see this spring right here? That spring is going to ride on these grooves on this cap. And that's what's going to give you your tension to hold your cap on. Okay, drop your spool on. Once you got that on, and here is our spinner head. Remember what it looked like before? Well, this is what it looks like now. We're going to take it and oil it good. It had been greased, and the grease had turned to varnish. We are going to oil it very good so that it can slide as much as it wants. Notice how well it pops back now. We're going to put that back on. There we go. Now, when the handle turns, hang on, something's binding. There we go. Watch, make sure that you don't get that pinched inside there. There's a lot of moving parts in that head. And if you pinch this part right here onto up here, it won't seat properly. So make sure that when you tighten it down, you don't tighten it down all the way at first. Tighten it down snug, just a little bit. Push the button, okay? Make sure it's up. Make sure it drops down. Once it does, then you can snug it up the rest of the way. And now it turns freely. All right, and again, we still don't have a handle, but we're getting to it. We're getting closer and closer. All right, now this is your drag washer. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna coat this drag washer with some drag washer grease. And this is a very thin, very dry drag washer. It's been years since anything was done to help it. So be careful, because if you aren't delicate with it, you can break it. And again, you could probably make this out of a piece of leather, but you certainly, I don't believe, can buy a new one. All right, I'm going to slip it back into the case or into the cap. Drop it down. Kind of make sure that it's kind of glued down to that. Now, we're going to push the button. And the reason we're going to push the button down is so that this post right here, hang on, let's zoom you back out. I didn't realize we were in still. Push the button, and that pulls that pin in. Now, gently slide this over, making sure not to knock that drag washer off of its shelf. Once you screw it down, it's not going to fall off. Okay, now the drag is adjusted by tightening and loosening this cap, and the spring holds the cap steady. We're going to go, I come back in just a minute, I'm hoping I'm going to have a new handle and a screw for this side plate. Okay, I'm back. I now have all of the screws for the reel, and I was able to find two handles. I'm going to clean one of them up for this reel. I'm going to use the cleanest one. Okay, and if you look, it's the same shape, so I'm pretty sure that it's a Shakespeare handle, but the originals were, this one had a slight turnout to it. This one has a little less turnout. My guess is this one is from a less expensive Shakespeare. And look at there, it's not going to work because it's going to hit. This one has a turnout. Let's see here. Okay, if you set these side by side, you can see that this one has a turnout and this one does not. Now, we can modify that and change it, which is what I'm going to do. Or at least I'm going to try to do it. And I did do it, and of course, the smart fellow that I am, I think I went the wrong way with it. I did. So let's try this again. All right. We've added a slight turnout to it. Let's see if that's enough to make it fit this handle. It's close, but not quite yet. Sometimes you just have to make do with what you can get. And while someone out there may have a source for these new old stock handles, I certainly don't. But I do have some for some old Shakespeares, and I think that's going to do it. Let's tighten it down. and see if we got it right. There we go. No bang, no hit. All right. Now, let's see if we can get hold of the line. I'm going to strip this line off of here. Oh, push the button when you go to take it off so that pin is in. Even so, this is still going to want to slide off. Now, what you possibly can do is clean this real good and glue it into that cap, because I suspect that's the way it originally was glued into the cap. And then once you've glued it in place, you can come back and re-lubricate it, and that'll take care of it. All right, let's see if we can get hold of the line. This way we can test to see whether or not we have a drag that's functional. Okay, button is pushed, turn the handle. All right now we have no drag. Oh, we got drag. There we go, loosen it a little more. Okay, we have drag. Okay, so we've gone from a reel that on Saturday wouldn't turn, wouldn't move at all, to an operational reel that once we change the line is ready to go fishing. And oh, I bumped my camera. Let's see if we're, there we go. Hopefully we haven't messed things up too bad on that. And so there is the Shakespeare 1797. And the next one we're going to do is going to be this 1799. And we're going to do it minus the cap, because there's nothing I can do about it. So far, I haven't been able to find a cap. But I can show you how to take everything else apart and put it back together, so that if somebody has one that has a cap, and remember, it won't have a screw cap. It's going to, like that one, it's got a lockdown cap. It just slips on and locks in place. But this one's completely different. Notice on it that the spool itself moves up and down instead of the spinner head. Okay, so even though they look very similar, they operate completely different. Anyway, this is Rick Stivers with Young Martin's Reels. I hope you liked the video. If you did, please hit the like button. If you didn't, that's cool. That's cool. Hit the dislike button and tell me why you didn't like it. If you would like to subscribe, please do so. I'd love to have more subscribership. That's fine. And for now, that's Rick Stivers signing out.